The variety of games available on Xbox Game Pass has continued to grow and evolve since the program first launched in 2017, with Microsoft investing a lot of resources in its own internal game studios to help build out a program that has become the Netflix of video games. While many smaller independent games have launched into Game Pass since its inception, Outriders represents the first time a AAA third-party studio has launched their new game straight into Game Pass. Initially, I thought Outriders was another game like Destiny or Tom Clancy's The Division, a looter shooter that is designed to be grinded out over and over, repeating mission content for better gear drops. However, I was pleasantly surprised when I discovered it has more in common with Borderlands than Destiny, at least in terms of content and mission structure, and most importantly, an actual full-length campaign. Normally, when I buy, play, and review a title, I want to fully complete it before offering my opinion. However, for players on Xbox, the rules have changed. For $14.99 a month, Game Pass, not a sponsor, offers you over 100 games to play, including several role-playing games. So with all the options out there available on Game Pass, I want to ask the question, should you invest your time in Outriders? Does Outriders do enough as a Game Pass game to keep you invested? Let me share with you my experience with the game's first 15 hours and let you draw your own conclusions. If you enjoy role-playing games, be sure and hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you'll know when the next video drops. Outriders calls itself a third-person shooter action RPG, and as someone who has put a ridiculous amount of time into the first two Borderlands games and has a deep love for the Mass Effect series, my interest was finally piqued when I found out the game was launching straight into Game Pass. I had no excuse not to try it, right? As the first few hours of the game unfolded, I was both intrigued by the story, but also turned off by how depressing and gloomy the game is. Early on, the main character, the Outrider, is constantly being beat down by the scenarios the game throws at you. The only thing that you're really given early on is this carrot on a stick. Find out what this anomaly is that's destroyed most of the electronic systems, that's altered you and so many others into something simply a little more than human. At face value, it's certainly interesting and is a story that has not been told before. When you arrive on the planet of Enoch, humanity's last refuge after destroying Earth, you play the role of an Outrider, a combat experienced explorer tasked with charting this planet that is the last remnant of humanity's final hope. They have found it to inhabit as their own. In the game's opening moments, you discover that not everything is as it seems on Enoch, and problems are rearing their ugly heads left and right. I think my biggest criticism about the story, for as much as I played it, was that the Outrider, your character, never responds to situations consistently. I have no idea why the Outrider is choosing to do what they do, respond the way they respond, or react the way they react. You have a blank slate character that you cannot project onto like Commander Shepard, or relate to. Typically in games like these, you're given choices, or at least the illusion of choice. In Outriders, it's nowhere. The world building is interesting, and many of the premises are incredibly intriguing, but I think the darkness of the world and my inability to relate to the Outrider or their allies just lost me. Perhaps the story gets better as you continue to travel. Let me know down in the comments below, without spoiling anything for others who might check the comments. After seeing the 1,000th corpse hanging by a rope several hours in, I just gave up. Let me make it clear. Dark themes or horror isn't a no for me. Dead Space and Resident Evil 7 are in my top 10 shooters. But when it's done poorly and I don't have a compelling reason to stick around in that environment, I'm not likely to. It's not fun when it's not well done. The gunplay, while certainly not mechanically superior to other titles, is a lot of fun. I chose the Technomancer out of the 4 classes available, and I had an absolutely wonderful time spawning my rocket launcher on my shoulder every few seconds to blow away my enemies that were frozen by my cryo turret. Always finding loot in chests around every corner felt right for a game with Square Enix on the title. It's an RPG, I want loot, and Outriders gives you a ton of loot to play with. Weapons and armor with not only increasingly more powerful statistics, but also a variety of elemental and power bonuses depending on which class you choose. As you accumulate more and more loot, you can either choose to sell it and buy new weapons, or break the weapons down into raw materials in order to craft and upgrade the guns you are currently enjoying. What the game lacks for in choice with the story, it fully gives you with so many options to upgrade and customize your weapons and armor, and even the character itself. Another very unique part of the experience is the upgrade tree for your Outrider. After choosing a class and being given unique powers, you're given several choices for upgrades, for everything from your typical health and gun damage to anomaly power and more. Customization is always welcomed in games like this, and the developers, People Can Fly, really thought through what the crafting, upgrade, and weapon system should be like for Outriders. Outriders is best played as a cooperative experience. And once the initial server issues the game had were ironed out, my friend Skyroby and I had a blast playing through hours of the story and gameplay. Over voice chat, we awed at the fantastic graphics, laughed together at the silly or weird scenarios, and were really in awe of one of the first awesome boss experiences that the game had to offer. I'm not joking, it was very cool and a lot of fun. However, after getting a taste of playing cooperatively with someone I enjoy gaming with, going back to the single-player experience felt dull, and the incredibly dark story and hopelessly sad scenarios were not enough to keep me pushing forward. Even if I wanted to know everything about the planet of Enoch and figure out what exactly humanity had got itself into and why they had to leave Earth in the first place. What is this anomaly, and why did it drastically change over time? What are the extent of the altered powers? Normally, if I had paid $65 to $75 for a game, I'd play it through to the end of the game to get my money's worth. But because I played it on GamePass, I just wasn't compelled. There's a conversation to be had how GamePass could devalue experiences, but that's for another video. All in all, I have to say I certainly didn't hate Outriders. I recognize that it's a pretty decent looter shooter, but the lack of consistency from the Outrider in terms of their responses to the scenarios and the overly dark scenario left me feeling like, for my time, I'm going to play other games. I will say though, if you like third-person shooting and are looking for a game to play with friends, this is a solid choice. If you're more of a story-based player and want deeper RPG mechanics, your mileage may vary. I certainly recognize that not everyone's tastes are the same, but I can confidently say that Outriders just isn't for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, ring the bell if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.